Hello, hello. How did you like our new start to Friday with Fran? I am one of the hosts, Shelly, and this, oh, look, I did it the right way, is the other host, Fran, who has been covered up by critters. She
Apparently.
has Emmy and Cooper with her today. So the StreamYard format that I use to do us for this show has come out with some new toys. I feel like they are.
Oh,
And so
sure she loves it.
yeah. So we've changed the background color a little bit. I've changed how Friday with Fran shows up down here at the bottom. And then we also have this fun new feature. Oh, is it not playing? There it goes. So we can have music. that can keep there. See, it's done. So or I could have looped it and had it continuously going, but I think that would have been too distracting for both of us today.
Yes. Where are you going?
All right. So if you are joining us live, let us know with the hashtag live. If you are joining in the replay, let us know with the hashtag replay. So today, Fran. Oh, you did it already.
Yes, I did.
Fran already did it for me. That's awesome, because I was going to have you explain while I typed it in, but now you can just explain and I don't have to type.
Life. It's all in the perspective.
What do you mean by that?
It's a deep one. With
Uh-oh.
a tail. My cat is joining us today, very much so. Sorry. What does it mean? Well, I was thinking about the broad spectrum of life, and then I brought it down to just even today and how my life has been. I could have let today be a really dreary day, but instead, my perspective, my focus, I shifted it, and it turned out to be a really busy but purposeful and positive day.
Is Cooper trying to get away from Emmy?
No, I'm not sure what he's doing.
Is Yanko down there?
No, Yanko's out there, but he was nicely in his sling, but I'm gonna have to put him in or put him down because he's distracting. Sorry.
He's so cute.
I have a baby sling for those that don't know that my children used, and now the dog uses.
Maybe he usually does just. Oh, he usually does just very calmly lay. But yeah, today he's agitated.
Been all day. He's been for a few days, and so I'm wondering if his perspective needs to change, because it's going to change in a second if he doesn't calm down. And I think even we can take from that. Sometimes we need others' help to find that perspective when we can't.
Yeah.
See, I'm going to make this work.
Okay. So it was interesting. So for those of you who have never joined us. Oh my gosh. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it doesn't seem to be coming out correctly. Fran and I don't often talk about what we're going to talk about, either very far ahead of time or at all. And today was one of those days where it was not very far ahead of time that we talked about what we were going to have as our kind of theme for today's topic. And so I got this message from Fran about perspective, and I had already chosen what I was going to wear on today's show. So you guys can't see it. I mean, I have on a turtleneck and a sweatshirt, but the reason that what I'm wearing is keying to what we're talking about is because this is from ND Renegade, which was somebody that I'd had on the show #NoLimits. And it says, and I hope I can pronounce this right, Taki Tanga. And that is from the Maori tribe of, and I want to get this right because I don't want to mess it up. It's from the Aboriginal people of New Zealand. And what this means in that language is in their own time and space. And that's the word that they have come up with to describe people with autism.
Okay.
But I thought, it's the perspective. And so it just fit with what we were going, or what you were suggesting that we talk about. And so just once again, we were on the same wavelength, even though we don't prepare very far sometimes ahead of time.
I think it's kind of cool. I think it was probably God ordained.
Yeah. I think a lot of what you and I do on this show is God ordained.
So, perspective. Like how do you start your day can affect your perspective, or how your first conversation you have with your child or loved one can affect their perspective for the day and your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to be very intentional about my communication with my daughter, and making sure that I have allotted time, because so much of our days we just are like ships in the same harbor, but we just do our own thing. And so I've been trying to be very intentional about making sure that we dock side by side occasionally and touch base.
Yeah.
And I think I would like to say it's making a difference.
Good.
And
that's good.
I know it's making a difference in my life. I don't know if it's making a difference in hers, but I think it's making a difference.
In what ways? How is it changing things, or what differences are you seeing?
It's giving me empathy for her in ways that I haven't had empathy. And I think we've opened up some lines of communication for times when things are not going well for me or her, to be able to share with each other in that struggle rather than to be doing it alone.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So
I think it is, from what I see and hear, your perspective. Yeah. Oh, that's fun. Mm-hmm. That even kind of changed how it put up their name and their comment.
Oh, cool.
And hi, Mom. I think I was talking when you popped on, and I heard Fran say hi.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I saw it, so I just had to say
That's okay. No, absolutely. Yeah, that was such a key question that you asked. How do you wake up in the morning? I've actually been thinking about that today, and was going to do a live for my page, and because I have been lately waking up and having a difficult time getting out of bed, getting the motivation to actually physically get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not dreading my day.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want to get out of bed. But once I'm out of bed, once I, okay, it's cool, you're going to do this and you're going to do this. And if you get this done, whatever. But yeah, it's something that I've been struggling with, but I have to tell myself, I have to get my perspective correct in order to not stay in bed like I want to.
Good.
I don't think anything has changed recently. Well, yes, but I'm not tired. I mean, I don't feel tired necessarily. But this is some of what I go through with some of my anxiety.
Okay.
So, like, I'll want to go places, and I'll sign up or put it on my calendar to go places and do things. But then a lot of times when it's time for that thing, I start to dread going, and I start like thinking, how do I not have to go to this? And it's just I usually have a wonderful time, and I almost always make myself go to whatever it was that I had committed to go to. But yeah, it's this mind struggle. So that, I mean, for me, that is part of the perspective of just, it's not that it's bad, and it's not that it's a horrible thing.
It's a mental
perspective.
And as you're sharing that, I was thinking about my morning. It took me this many times around the clock to physically be able to get out of bed because I was hurting so badly, and right. I couldn't move. And so it took that long to get my body to cooperate. And that's why I said it could have been a horrible, no good, bad kind of day.
Right.
But in the trying to get my body to move, I was able to spend some thoughts and reframe my thought process, at least, so that it was in a different perspective. So physically, it was a horrible, no good, bad day, but mentally, I was thinking of the things I needed to do and why I was doing it. And it helped because I was going to make a meal for somebody who recently had surgery. And that gave me a different, almost like a feel good, but not a feel good because I was making it for somebody, but just that I was physically able to do that. So I was able to focus on, yes, I can do these kind of things. The world may see me as differently abled, but I can still make a meal for somebody that has a need. And so right. I was able to take that perspective, and eventually it kind of pushed out the physical perspective. So yeah. I don't know, how do you transition from where you were to where you are now? How do you change your perspective?
A lot of mental strength. I guess that's the right word. I'm not really sure, but just recognizing. And we've talked about that before. You have to recognize when your perspective needs to be changed, or when your attitude needs to be changed, or when your body is telling you something is wrong, or, lots of things that we need to recognize. So first, it's just recognize, like, why am I thinking this way? Yep, exactly. Look at you having fun. Mom, did you miss the music? Because Mom would like the music. Mom likes to dance.
We'll have to play it for her in a bit.
Yeah, we can play it as we go out later.
Okay.
But yeah, what's in your toolbox is very key. Recognizing first, and then I'm able, in most cases, to convince myself to get up and do it. And then, once I'm up, I don't have the thoughts anymore. I'm not like, oh, I just want to just go back to bed.
So your perspective changed physically. Right. So it's a physical change as well.
Right.
Because you were in bed, and then once you're up and moving,
yes,
it helps your mental perspective.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. How about you?
Yeah, I think so. One of my toolboxes, one of my tools in my toolbox of life is stop. And by that, I mean when my thoughts get whirling so fast that I'm catching myself prior to even moving, and I'm already on to the next thing, I have to stop. Or when I'm physically doing so much that I'm weak because I'm moving because I've pushed myself so hard, I have to stop. And in stopping, and I have to stop physically and I have to stop mentally. I can't just stop physically and let my mental go, or vice versa. I have to stop. So I have a stop sign in my toolbox because I have to stop. And in the stopping, there's that brief moment. And sometimes it's not a stop, take a nap. It's not a stop, sit there forever. But it can be if that's what's necessary. But sometimes just, Fran, stop. Just stop a second.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can go. And literally just that amount of stop. But it breaks the whirlwind of physical or mental, and it allows me to reboot and to move forward in a much more focused and efficient manner.
That's awesome. And did you notice that so far, neither of us have mentioned anybody else? But I have a feeling that in both of our toolboxes is reaching out or having a support system.
Oh, definitely. You are so right. And I'm grateful for the support system I have. I used to think especially prior to my stroke, I used to think that it was always about how independent you could be and how little assistance you needed. And look at me, I did this all on my own.
Right.
But I've come to realize how important and how crucial it is to be able to have that support system.
Yeah. And I think we're taught from little on that, anymore at least, that we are supposed to be strong, independent people, you know. Mm-hmm. And I think that's finally shifting, and people are seeing the consequences of teaching that to our children and making that such a prevalent idea in society. Mm-hmm. And I'm very thankful that that is starting to change, because I really do think that that whole "it takes a village" mm-hmm. truly is right.
Yeah.
It maybe you can do a lot of things on your own, but you say this almost every episode, that you're not alone and you're not meant to do life completely alone. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to have a spouse or somebody living in your home with you, but that you have an organization, or you have a person, or you have people, or you have family, whatever it is, mm-hmm. that you can reach out to.
I like this, what your mom wrote here.
Yeah, so they approve that taking a physical and mental break several times a day makes you more productive. Yeah.
Can I say something on that before we go to the next one?
Uh-huh.
I have a friend who has a traumatic brain injury, and the neurologist specifically has told her, you need to take brain breaks. Mm-hmm. Your brain will become overstimulated, overwhelmed, and you have to take brain breaks, or you will have the headaches, you will be tired, and you will not be as productive.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's from a medical doctor that said that.
Right. And I have two nieces that had gotten severe concussions in the last 5 or 6 years, and their neurologists have said the same thing to both of them, that mm-hmm. you have to do this for your brain to heal and to maintain the healing that it is already accomplished, mm-hmm. to whatever moment you're at. But yeah, right. I mean, we all need to do that. Maybe not as maybe not to the extent that, somebody with a concussion or a traumatic brain injury has to, but, 5 minutes here or 5 minutes there, to have the balance, as Alex says, needing to be balance of each, personal and others. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have to learn to say no and be okay saying no.
And just saying no, not no because da. You
right.
Just saying no. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's perfect. Why do you say that you don't need to give a reason?
Because you don't. You shouldn't have to explain why you can't go somewhere, or you can't do something, or you can't help someone, or anything. You should be able to have the freedom to say no. No one should have that much control over you that you have to give a gazillion reasons why you can't help them. And that's from, I've heard that from counselors. I've seen that from multiple areas.
Yeah, and I think when we give a reason, I almost think it gives the message that if you can convince me that my reason isn't good enough, then I'll say yes.
Yeah, and you're right.
So I don't know that we intentionally are sending that message, but I think when we give that excuse, or not that excuse, when we give our reasons, then we're either maybe one of two things. We're wanting the person to say, oh yeah, no, I can see why you can't do this, or you can't, whatever. Or it's talk me out of those other things. And thanks, Alex. And then I'll turn my no into a yes for you.
Right. You're right, Alex. No should be enough.
Yep. We've had some, since we've come back, we've had some heavy topics.
Yeah. But life is heavy right now.
Yeah, for sure.
It really is. And I want to make the most out of it. And to do that, I'm trying to fill my toolbox with all the right tools.
Yeah.
And even Fridays with Fran is part of my toolbox, because it's where I get to bounce ideas off of you and those that are listening and watching with us. And I build more into my toolbox just through this.
Good. I'm glad. And
so,
well, I was just going to say, so far, so we've determined that we have to recognize our perspective. We have to, well, we don't have to, but we need to have a toolbox. I'm writing these down because I'm going to put them together in like a list.
Okay.
I posted today for my social media stuff what we had come up with a while ago about fear and how to face some of the fear. And then I said people should tune in today and see what we were going to talk about. So
cool.
Yeah. So toolbox of tools. So in the toolbox, we have a stop sign. We have mental exercise, which is kind of what I was talking about with my stuff. What else have we named? Other specific things? Being able to say no.
Saying no, because my stop sign had a lot of stuff in it.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I hadn't missed anything.
Okay.
The pandemic slowed us all down. And now I am examining my life and motives more now that things are waking up some. That's good.
That's really good.
And that is, again, it is that perspective of, I spent a lot of time on this or this or this or this in the past. Do I really need to spend that much time on those things? So yeah, that perspective of, they always say that hindsight is 2020, which means perfectly clear. So, now that we have been in this pandemic for so long, looking back and seeing more clearly things that should have our priority, maybe some things that shouldn't, changing some things around.
Choosing our focus. Because, like I said, life is heavy, life is full. So, but life is finite, and there is a certain amount of time in a day. It's finite. So, what is important? What rates getting my time? That's the perspective. Part of the perspective for me is choosing, being intentional about what I use my resources on. And that goes way back to when I was in rehab following hurting my hip. What did Alex say there? Sorry, I got
focus
distracted.
Is a better word than motive. So what she focuses when she was saying here, instead of her life and motives, her life and focus more now.
Okay, got it. So when I fell and hurt my hip, because I was trying to find resources. And so we think of resources as, is that Jonas?
Yes, it was. That's one of his coughing fits.
Oh, we think of resources kind of financially, probably, when we think of it.
Yeah.
But what I'm talking about is my physical resources, using those wisely. Because I was trying to stand and do everything with my walker. Well, right now, I'm sitting in a wheelchair. Because it doesn't make sense to stand at a computer for an entire clock, or even to stand. But so I was shown that I could mop sitting in my wheelchair. I couldn't sit in my wheelchair and do my dishes. So to use my physical strength wisely, to use my resources. So going back to what I was saying, now I take the time to decide what gets my physical resources, what gets my mental resources in the finite period of a day. That's part of my toolbox.
That's fabulous. Because I think that has been helping me as well. For almost as long as I've had the business, I've always felt like I was doing 1,000 things every day, but never seeming to accomplish stuff consistently. I would get work done. But I finally went out. My space that I've worked in since I've started the business has been a small space. I don't technically have a desk that I have worked on before. Kevin and I shared a workspace area. And then when I moved from that area to a different space to do this, that was an even tinier area. So, and then finally, once I moved to this location that I'm in now to do this, I've got a whole table now, a whole like a kind of like a cafeteria table length. And so I finally bought another desk calendar. And I've had my calendar in my phone, and I've had calendars on the walls, but for some reason, for me, having a desk calendar, I guess just because I did it so long as a teacher.
So that's in your toolbox.
Right. So I have now written down for each day of the week, okay, on this day, I'm going to do this. And on this day, I'm going to do this and this. And I've listed it all out. Now, that stuff was in my head before. And I've printed it out and I've put the things up on a piece of paper and stuck them on the wall. Okay, this day you're going to do this, this, this. But for some reason, for me, now that it's on the desk calendar, even though it's underneath my keyboard and I have to lift up my keyboard to look at what I'm supposed to accomplish for the day, and as long as I'm getting the things done that I have written down on those particular days, I feel more consistent with getting certain things accomplished.
Got it.
And when I accomplish those things, then I'm like, okay, everything else on top of those things is gravy as far as the day is concerned. So I've been, and I haven't been doing it all that long. I just started at kind of the middle of January. But as I'm getting more used to it again, I'm finding that I have even some time now to do household chores during the daytime, which I've been working from home for 5 years now. You would have thought I would have figured that out already, but I'm able, again, I'm just able to be more consistent with it.
Okay.
So yeah, for me, it's writing things down on a calendar on my desk.
So where are you on your list to write for the toolbox there?
I have be intentional with resources, stop, have the mental exercise, be able to say no, choosing our focus, and then writing things down.
Yeah. And I'm a list person. You can ask anybody that's known me. I have lists upon lists, but they're for me, they're important. Like I have a list going for the mission trip on which I'm going to be going on. I have a list going for the special state basketball tournament. But what for me, a list is important because once I write it down, I don't have to keep that mental resource of trying to remember it.
Yeah.
And also, when you were talking about your list and on your calendar, it gives legitimacy to what you're doing. It validates the fact that you are doing things when you have them written down, because so often we minimize what we're doing in our brains, and we don't have the intentionality of going, wow, I did this for myself and I did this. That's like they say, someone that works from home, they say you should get dressed for the day. You should continue to have a schedule. Don't laze about in your jammy pants.
Yep.
So anyway, that was just but I wanted to touch on something.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Of course.
Sorry. He is, there's something going on. He has been for a few days just hyper anxious almost. And so it actually is tying it into what I wanted to say. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm going to say it, but then I'm going to let you run with it. I'm going to mute myself. What I want is, so we've talked about you and me, what helps us, perspective, what's in our toolbox. But how do we help our loved ones? How do we help those who have unique needs change their perspective? I'm going to mute myself.
Oh, that's not fair. You asked me a question and you put me on the spot to answer it. Oh, gosh. I think just setting an example, living the example of the things that we've talked about with our toolbox and how we change our perspective. I've tried to do this I tried to be intentional with this with Violet as she was growing up. If somebody hurt her or she didn't think something was fair or that somebody got something that she wanted and she didn't understand, why they got that, or as she got older, if people cut us off in traffic or if people behaved in a way that she didn't think was appropriate,
Mm-hmm.
then I would try to give her the examples of, well, this person might be dealing with whatever I would come up with in the moment, so that she could try to develop a sense of other people's possible perspectives. I'm not in somebody else's shoes, so I don't know exactly what their perspective is like. But for me, I found out many years ago that I have two choices.
Mm-hmm.
I can focus on a negative, and I can focus on the person who cut me off, or I can focus on the fact that something doesn't seem fair to me, and I can focus and feel sorry for myself, or I can say, you know what, that person's probably dealing with something that I'm not aware of, and try to think in a more positive sense, as far as not
Right.
holding it as my responsibility to deal with
Mm-hmm.
for a long period of time. And that probably started when I really started to understand behaviors and how the brain works. Because all behaviors are, what have I said?
Communication.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listen.
Yay!
I do.
So yeah, and also, just trying to be patient with people. But I think thinking about what somebody else might be going through, thinking about why somebody may approach a situation the way they approach it.
Okay.
Sharing what's happening in the world, or if you know what's happening in someone else's life, understanding how our bodies work. That is something that changed my perspective many, many, many years ago. Is, I don't make my blood pump through my body. I don't have to think about that. It just does it.
Mm-hmm.
I am not consciously thinking about breathing. My body just does it. And thank God, because if I had to think about breathing, I'd screw it up, because I'd get busy talking and I'd forget to breathe. But understanding that, a lot of things that we take for granted can be taken from us. There are people who cannot breathe on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So they're on a ventilator. So being thankful that my brain is still working in the way that it works, that I don't have to think and I don't have to depend on an outside source.
Right.
So, realizing what other people go through, maybe in other countries, or even talking to people who are of different backgrounds. Because I didn't realize until not very much in the past that even in our own area, there are a lot of kids who have been sleeping on the floors, who did not have their own bed. Until a friend of mine started an organization to try to make sure that every kid has a bed. That changed my perspective.
Yeah. Or like, so when I had a son born with Down syndrome, mm-hmm. my perspective changed. I had worked with people who had different needs, but Down syndrome wasn't on my radar. But right. Now, I wanted to tie that into it. what I heard you saying was it's the filter through which you look. And so you were trying to look through the filter of the other person, through their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And so often we can do that with anyone. We can stop and quit seeing the world only through seeing it, the situation from our eyes, but say, I wonder how they're seeing it. I wonder how they're hearing it. I wonder how they're feeling it. And that will change their perspective, change our perspective on how we interact with that individual. You can go ahead. Sorry. Wanted to share that.
Oh, well, no. I mean,
you were going to read it, I thought.
Yeah, I can. She says, I can deal with someone being unfair to me or giving me a hard time, but not unfair treatment of someone I love. Then the mama bear comes out. And then Alex talks about being open to all things. Yeah. I don't know what I was going to say. It just flew out the window. Welcome to the perspective of me today.
It's okay, because by about this time, I have to really start making myself focus, because my brain is like zap sometimes.
Yeah. Squirrel. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
Rabbit. Something.
Oh, speaking
Did you fix your hand? Is that what you're going to show me?
Huh?
Oh, I thought you were going to show me your thumbs up.
Oh, no.
You're reaching forward.
Because I wanted to grab my phone, and I'll show you why in a second.
Okay, but I'm going to share Alex's thing here.
Okay, go ahead.
Not meaning you have to agree, but be open to hear.
Right.
True. Yes. That doesn't mean you have to, but as Shelley often says, it's real to that person. It may not be real to you, but it is real to them.
Yeah. So Mom mentioned squirrel. So can you see what this is?
Oh my goodness. Yes.
I was doing dishes yesterday, had my head down, and all of a sudden I see this shadow come across me, and I was like, what in the world? And there was
Were they walking on the screen?
Yeah, it was walking on the screen, walking around. I think we have an awning over the window, and I think it got up there and then was like, how do I get out? Because it just kind of kept walking around looking up, and then it sat on my windowsill for a little bit, and I tried to open the window. I mean, I wouldn't have still been able to get it anyway because there was still the screen, but I must have had a dish leaning up against the window or something, because it made a loud crash, and then poor thing, it just fell off the window down the side of the house.
Oh.
I think it caught on somewhere though, because our house is brick, so I think its feet were able to to just grasp the bricks. But because then the way that my kitchen window sits, I can see part of my roof over my garage, and within a couple of seconds, it was on the roof of the garage. And I had the window open, and I'm like, yeah, I see you. And it did it. Like, it looked at me, and then it scampered off like, uh-oh, I've been seen.
So that, you know what that reminds me of though, to put in our toolbox?
Laughter.
Humor, laughter.
Yeah.
Joy. Well, no, I'm going to take that back. Because joy does not tie into humor and laughter. And
it doesn't have
that
to.
In a bit. Yeah. Joy is a state of being in our inner self. It's not a feeling. That's like happy and all that stuff.
Right.
Sorry, I'm trying to move the cat. I told you, I'm having animal troubles here today, apparently. Your squirrel was on the outside. My squirrel is on the inside with all my animals today. Goodness gracious.
That's okay. But yeah, I think laughter, definitely. Laughter, humor.
I think, yeah.
Being able to laugh at yourself, too.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know,
I laugh at myself all the time.
Having the perspective that I am imperfect, I will make mistakes, and owning those mistakes and being able to laugh at myself when I do
Mm-hmm.
something silly or when I make a mistake, because sometimes doing the silly thing doesn't, it's not necessarily a mistake,
Right.
but just being like, hey, I did that, I own it.
Mm-hmm.
I do that a lot with just see, I laugh at myself all the time. I'm so funny.
Oh.
I mean, there was a time though that I would not have laughed at myself. I would
Mm-hmm.
not, like doing this and like, oh, I need to be so professional and I need to be on point with everything I say and my actions. And now I'm like, nope, sorry, I am who I am. I'm not perfect, you're not perfect,
Yeah.
and we're just gonna deal with it.
And you know what? I think I want to say this before I forget. Can I say it?
Of course.
Okay. Because I know I'm cutting you off. But um, being, it's important when someone with different needs laughs at themselves. It's okay to laugh at them too, if especially about their different need.
Hmm.
Like, um, my leg, my arm, parts of me don't work.
Right.
And the other day I made some comment like, "Oh, I'll do that," and the person looked at me like, "And how do you expect to do that?" And I was like, "Oh, oh yeah, I can't do that anymore." And I burst out laughing, and it was okay to laugh at it. It's
Yeah.
it's you're not making fun of them. They're laughing at themselves. Go ahead and laugh with them because you're allowing them. You're validating that it they're normal. That's normal. That is their
Right.
normal. Whatever it is that is uniquely different is their normal, and it's okay to laugh at their normal.
Right. Yeah. That's an excellent point. And I think many people miss that. Um, because we're afraid if we laugh that we're going to make the person feel bad, or that they are thinking we're laughing at them versus with them in that particular moment.
Hmm. It reminds me of um, one time I was with somebody, and their G tube, their through which they get their sustenance, leaked out, and they thought it was hilarious. I mean, it was a mess, and we're laughing as they're laughing. And I find, so what is so funny? And she goes, I just puked. And I was, the perspective of puke. Well, I guess you really did because that's how it goes in, and it just
Yeah.
came back out the same way
Yeah.
it goes. And it was just hilarious. And then we were laughing harder, and then I knocked it open as I was cleaning up around it, and then she goes, "I puked more," and it was just a mess. It was just an utter mess in so many ways, but it was just so funny. But I think, as Alex does, the important
Uh-huh.
thing though is there's a difference laughing with and making fun of. Well,
Yeah.
this person was the one that started it, and
Right.
that gave me the freedom
Yeah.
to laugh with them.
Right. And I think that's very key. And I think we do have to be careful that it doesn't become making fun of. And I'm wondering if when someone is uncomfortable laughing with the person, if that's why, if they think that it's going to come across as that they're making fun of.
I guess you have to be comfortable around the person and maybe know them, but yeah, I guess I see it as if they're laughing, why can't I laugh?
Right.
But maybe I'm wrong in that. I could be wrong.
Well, I don't think that, I'm not sure it's a right or wrong. I think it's what you said. You need to know the person,
But
you
but
know?
the reason I stopped though is there have been times I've been around, like with I help, I coach with Special Olympics, I volunteer with Special Olympics, and I've been around athletes, so I don't know them, but they make fun of themselves because when they do a goofy something, just like an athlete would make fun of themselves if they whiffed at a ball.
Right.
And we all laugh. So that's why I changed it from you have to know the person, because I don't know them.
Right. Yeah, I see that.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So I didn't want to put that parameter on it.
Right. And then I guess it goes back to what you said. If the person started laughing about the situation first,
mm-hmm.
and then you're laughing with them at the situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was something I was going to say as you were talking. It triggered a thought, and now I don't know where it went.
Sorry.
That's okay. My grandmother used to say, if you can't remember what you were going to say, it was a lie. So
why? That
was her perspective.
On that one. That's her perspective. I'm gonna have to think on that one.
Yeah.
Or I just get distracted because I was so focused on something else.
Right. Exactly.
You're the one that said you can only focus.
The squirrel took it. I think you're right.
You can only focus on you're the one that's always say you can only truly focus on a thing.
Right. Yeah. That's supposedly what the studies say, is that you really only give 100%, the majority of your focus on one thing, or 100% of your focus on one thing, which is why they say, like you're able to stop, and why you need to stop when you need that perspective change.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like what you said about it being, for me, I was thinking, oh, I mentally got myself out of bed, but I literally had a physical perspective change, which is that whole thing of, which I don't have anything. Oh, well, this kind of does it. It's not the same
notebook.
thing, but, yeah, where like to you, it's a black notebook it's blank, but when I look at it, it had a sticker on it.
Ah.
So yeah, the physical. I mean, I physically turned it, but if we had switched places,
right.
So yeah, there is definitely, and I'm glad you said that there is a physical perspective. I mean, because if you think about,
perspective.
Yeah.
Perspective.
Look at you playing some more. Oh, well, watch this. Wait a minute. There's another one. See?
Oh.
I don't think this one does it. No, that one doesn't change it. So, oh, maybe there's this one. Oh no, I have to be sharing
my screen. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably it. Sorry, guys. We have all kinds of buttons underneath that have little pictures on them that we're clicking. I'm clicking on the pictures to determine how it's going to alter the perspective of how you're seeing us today. Yes.
I think it's interesting. I think where we start and where we end is always so much fun.
Yeah. Good. Thanks for saying that, Alex, because I was going to ask that question, what you guys thought of the blue and the orange versus the black and the orange that we used to have.
I don't like the orange.
You don't like the orange?
No. It's bright. It's bright for me.
Really?
I have all my screens on black because everything's too bright for me.
Okay.
So, but that's okay.
Let's see. Well, that would be really bright. Is that worse?
That's not as bad as the orange, but it's kind of bright. You only have certain color choices. Well, it kind of gets lost now, though. But I like it because it's not as.
No, I have the whole entire color palette to choose from.
Oh, do you?
So, yeah. So I can go there.
No.
It's worse. I can do that. I can do this.
I like that.
You like that one? Okay.
But it's kind of, but it might not be for other people.
Well, that's their perspective.
But it's your thing, so you can do it with what you
No, it is
want.
not my thing. It's our thing. This is Friday with Fran. And
Alex says black.
You like the black? Okay.
Or I liked it with where it just had that color. It's red on it. That was nice. And I liked the orange because it tied it into your butterfly, which was nice. Well, that won't work with black and black, but
yeah, but now I gotta.
You could do it with some kind of color.
Yeah. How did I?
Oh, your mom says
you know
black
what?
too. So black it is.
Okay.
Anyway. Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Yeah. My cat being
so there's also this or this. So it's just the way that I put it up there. That
yeah, the orange is just it was much like the ticker.
Oh, right.
It was like that's all I could see. I couldn't focus on you today but that's okay. But I'm just telling you, that is my perspective.
Right. Sorry, I'm still scrolling down to get to all the comments about what we like and what we don't like. Now everything is black and blue.
Oh.
So, the whole perspective thing, bringing it back into perspective. You're right. It's all in the perspective because you and I, and this is something that was pointed out to me several years ago. You and I can be rooting for the opposite team. And depending on which team we're rooting for will often depend on how we see whether or not something goes for or against our team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So true. And our perspective is not set in stone.
Nope.
It is ever changing, and that's okay. Because life is ever changing. Life is fluid, and so therefore our perspective should be fluid as well.
Yes, I agree.
And if your perspective is dreary or yucky, reach out, look up, look out, but don't get caught swirling in.
Yeah.
You need help.
And if you're researching something and you're finding everything is coming up with your same perspective, try a different search engine.
Or clear your search engine history.
Yeah, do an F5. That will do it sometimes. But if you're looking on Google always, and you're always getting the same types of search responses, go to Bing or Bing, or go to now I can't. There's one that Kevin uses. He doesn't use Google anymore.
Go Duck Go.
Yeah, Go Duck Go.
Isn't it?
Because it will it won't have your pattern built into what it pulls up for you to find. Mm-hmm. So that could maybe change your perspective on how you're thinking about something, because what you did before, and we've got to wrap up, but bringing us in this close,
mm-hmm.
Then we don't see all the stuff that's going on behind. We can't see the full picture. We almost never have the full picture of someone else's. All right, so we need to wrap up, or we're going to go over the hour. So thank you so much for joining us today on Friday with Fran. We will be back next week, I think, right?
Nope. Well, we're going to try. It'll be remote.
Okay.
I'll be remote.
All right. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for the communication with our audience. Have a great day.